Now, another part of the story that I would love to explore is your husband has, he's been portrayed in many demeaning ways. He has been accused of using you, of using the media, that this was all about him, that he leaked your name. What did that do to you, to your relationship? How do you get back from that?
It's infuriating to hear, well, that Joe Wilson, he's just a media hound. He has never called up anyone in the media and say, hey, I'm here. Where are when in fact he was defending his integrity, my integrity, defending his actions, calling these guys, and they're bullies. And, bullies will keep going until you push back. So he did that. They would love nothing better than for us just to go away, just be quiet. So, their tactic is to accuse him of being a media hound, when in fact he has simply said, wait a minute, here's what's happened. Here's the truth. He's, when you're called a liar, a traitor, I'm accused of nepotism,
Right.
worse. We're not going to just go away quietly.
But at home, alone, the thick of the storm outside, what impact did it have on your marriage?
Oh, I write about it in the book.
But
all these
you went into some shallow water, though, didn't you? I mean,
absolutely. But it wasn't. We recognized that it was external factors, but
Right.
the rage and the frustration boils over. It has nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And no one to this day, of course, knows what we went through except the two of us.
Right.
And there were some really tough times.
Fighting.
Oh, you don't know that half of it. But through all of this, I can say, as difficult as some days were, and anyone who's been married more than a month knows that it is challenging. But I never, and I know he'd say the same for me, never lost respect for the other person.
But did
might
you ever
not
think
like
your
them that
marriage
day.
might not survive the...
At a certain point, I was just emotionally, and as he was too, just completely wrung dry. And you don't know how you're going to go ahead, how you're going to do this. So Joe and I like to kid that even though we met and married in 1998.
Wait, I'm supposed to go...
No, that's okay. I'm just saying it's on the public record.
I know,
we married in 1998, but we like to say that actually we're going to celebrate our 35th wedding anniversary because we've compressed
all those years. Is it fair to say that if he'd never written that editorial in the New York Times, none of this would have happened?
I suppose so, but he knew the truth. He had tried a variety of ways. The president the president gave his State of the Union address in January 2003 using the now infamous 16 words.
Yes.
Joe used the months until when he wrote the op-ed piece, he was trying to get to the bottom of it using discreet back-channel ways, talking to his former colleagues in the State Department, speaking to staffers on Capitol Hill to try to understand how that got in there when it had been taken out of previous speeches. And finally, in June of 2003, this story had been bubbling for some time. Joe was warned by a journalist that, listen, your name is going to come out, the story's going to spin out of control, and if you want to do anything about it, you're going to have to do something yourself. And about that same time, then National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice went on Meet the Press and said rather dismissively, well, maybe someone knew about it down in the bowels of the agency, but certainly no one in my circles, which we knew to be flat wrong.
Do you think one of the other issues might have been that that Cheney just found out that as far as the administration was concerned, the wrong guy went, and that they were just pissed off that they wouldn't have minded somebody going, but they wouldn't have wanted it to be Joe?
I don't know so much in those terms, although let me say something about a three-ring binder in a moment. But it was clear that this was the first time anyone had really significantly challenged the administration on their primary rationale for going to war with Iraq, which was the so-called imminent nuclear threat. Other people had been, shooed aside, and I think why it stung so deeply is because Joe did have the credentials to speak on this. He wasn't. They like to. The administration likes to portray him as a democratic hack. I'm sorry. He had confronted Saddam Hussein during the first Gulf War. Responsible for the release of hundreds of American hostages. The first President Bush called him a true American hero. He had served as a diplomat over 20 years in Africa.
But you both had to know it was a political game.
Well, let me just go on to say what came out in the trial of Libby at one point was that the vice president's office was literally keeping a 3-ring binder on Joe Wilson in May and June of 2003. Now, let's go back. That's when the insurgency was just getting going. You'd like to think that the vice president had other things to do besides following a guy who was saying, you know, maybe this isn't the best idea for our national security. I find that absolutely outrageous.
I want to. How has the CIA been changed by what happened to you? And I want to take that somewhere. But do you feel that there are changes?
I'm afraid not. Realistically speaking, what has been so. What I find so disturbing is the amount of politics that have been allowed to seep into the intelligence community.
Still.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, but you don't feel that that's been
ameliorated?
No, at all.
No.
But but around? What do you think around the corridors out in Langley? The legacy is of what happened to you when they're talking amongst
I think
themselves.
I enjoy support. They know that it could have easily have happened to them as it did to me.
Yeah.
They know that this is a terrible precedent, and they understand that there's a ripple effect. That maybe in the future there's someone with critical intelligence that they want to share with the U.S. government, and they hear my story and they say, now why should I put myself or my family in jeopardy? They couldn't even protect one of their own.
We just have to pay them more, right?
It's you know, I know you're teasing a little bit, but
not entirely.
No. I mean, they say, why should I?
The price goes up
Immensely.
I want to bring this then around to Iran, because I think it's very interesting with the report coming out saying that the Iranians have stopped nuclear production, and I'm wondering if the CIA now isn't being more narrowly defining what is nuclear weapons program, and that they're flipping in the other direction so that they don't make the mistakes they made with Iraq.
This is with the release this week of the National Intelligence Estimate, the NIE.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating development. It completely contradicts what had been produced 2 years ago.
But it's also not necessarily true, is it? There is something going on in Iran.
I'm informed, but finally an outsider, an observer. I have no current intelligence for sure. There is nothing the matter, I think, with the intelligence agency saying we got it totally wrong. We have new information. That's all good. But what you have to question is, so much politics have been allowed to get into the whole process. Are they just trying to atone for past sins?
Make sure they don't make that mistake again.
I don't know. I can't speak to that.
And they define it so narrowly that they can say what they're saying, but there may be outside the borders of the image something still going on.
It is certainly going to change the dynamics of the dialogue going forward.